Ghanatube Sunie and some air costo ewo on my name. Aha, and I was ever canning now, but for snowy my science of Atanasi. It is some air co ever edge ever. And send a maternal city. Now we will see a quack J and send no edge a bar, I will see for a bar. Now, Matwaswam.
And all of this is President going to work with the special prosecutor.
The special prosecutor was appointed on the basis of law. There's enabling legislation that allows his office to exist. That legislation still exists, so he's free to carry out his work. Mind you, he's supposed to be independent. Once cases
I'm asking because a lot of the cases oral found have to do with politically exposed persons, yes. And we're told that the SP's remit, what distinguishes him from others, was that politically exposed persons involved in corruption, they felt that we needed to have that because the Attorney General is a minister of the government.
Well, let me say.
So how come he hasn't?
Let me say, and here I'm speaking for myself.
Okay.
I have a track record of questioning the relevance of that office since it was personally, and I need to draw that distinction.
But what's the president's view on the office?
Well, the president thinks that it is a useful tool for fighting corruption. The point is that, despite the existence of the office of the special prosecutor, the government has just gone out of power. The Attorney General was still prosecuting politically exposed persons. Indeed, all the cases that have now been thrown out were cases that were being pursued against politically exposed persons. So one then questions the relevance of having another office to do essentially what the Attorney General can do and more. So that is a question for some debate. I have my own views on it, but the president thinks that to the extent that he exists, that is a special prosecutor.
So do you foresee the Attorney General hiving up some of these cases to him?
Well, I see no reason why that cannot happen if the Attorney General deems it necessary.
Or could it be that because this president didn't appoint the special prosecutor, is not comfortable working with him?
There are people who the president did not appoint into certain positions, but he has retained them. One of them is the NCA Director General, who was appointed by the previous government in a certain capacity, but he's been elevated to become.
But he worked with Dr. Banigbo when he was there as minister. Yes, but so he's been there for almost 20 years.
Exactly, but the president has not said that because he didn't belong to his party or he did not appoint him, he will get trouble.
No, but he wasn't appointed by the Akufo-Addo government. This is different.
Exactly,
this special
the point I'm making
was appointed by.
But the point I'm making is that yes, there are people who were appointed by the previous government who will remain. You understand me? Again, the special prosecutor cannot be dismissed. He has security of tenure that is enshrined in law. The law was passed by Parliament. To the extent that the law exists, there's nothing that you can do about him. So
there's a lot of people in the NDC who do not think that the Electoral Commission chairperson and some of her deputies were fair to your government.
They were not. I have been a fierce critic of.
So what is the president's view on that?
Bernard, the law is clear. The Electoral Commissioner has security of tenure. You cannot remove her until she turns 70, when she goes for retirement, or you cannot remove her until stated misconduct. As we speak, the president has not been given evidence of stated misconduct. If that happens, he will kickstart the processes that will lead into looking into that complaint and taking the necessary action. But on his own, he's not going to dismiss anybody simply because he did not appoint them. He does not have a history of doing that. Especially in those places where the law regulates how the appointment or removal should be done.
So can we say same for IGP?
Yeah, that one is within the purview of the president. Conventionally, the heads of all the security agencies have changed when there has been a change. I don't think that anybody will raise any qualms about it. I don't know what the president intends to do in that regard, but if it happens, I don't think anybody will be surprised. It will not be against the norm, as it were.
Because the jury is still out there on the IGP. Some people think he was fair to the government, to this when you were
whether he was. I don't think that. But I don't think that
there's a view that the governments tend to influence the heads of institutions against the opposition. So when the opposition comes in,
that is yet another weakness.
That
is yet another weakness in our institutional arrangements that we need to address. There are those who have even argued that don't we even need an independent police commission that does this appointment and insulates them from the presidency. But the point must be made that we cannot make appointments or dismissal based on perceptions that one was fair or unfair to a government. We need to follow the law to the letter. What does the law say? The removal of security chiefs has become a bit of a convention. That people think that, okay, allow the new president to have some control in terms of who he chooses to to head the various agencies. It is something that has happened to all heads of security agencies whenever government has changed. So if that were to happen, you will not be surprised. I don't think the public will be surprised. It's not raising.
So what is the view about Dampare?
Well, I don't have any personal views about him. As I speak, I don't know of evidence of specific wrongdoing against him. He does not need to have done wrong for him to be changed. You understand the point I'm making? So if he is changed, it's not because he's done some wrong. It is just that the president may think that a new direction is needed at the police headquarters, or the direction is needed in the leadership of the police service. That would.
Can we say same for the Chief Justice?
Again, the Chief Justice is not at the beck and call of the president. She's the head, I beg your pardon, of an independent institution.
No, I'm talking about the view towards her. I'm not talking about whether she can be removed.
We have our own views. I have my own views on, and indeed, Bernard, I'm sure you followed me. I've also been very critical of the judiciary. I don't think that they were fair to the NDC. And I don't think they've been fair to the NDC for 32 years.
So even whilst you were in power in the previous...
Yes, I mean, you recall the Rollins era. The government of the day lost just about every case that went to court. You recall the famous case about June 4th and 31st December, the GBC case, and the one that J.H. Mensah took to court in terms of whether ministers should be vetted again once they've been appointed ministers previously or not. We lost all those cases. Under the MPP, I would say, I'm a member of the executive, I'm a member of the Parliament, and I have not hidden my dissatisfaction about the way that the judiciary has performed in this country. Look, they were manifestly unfair. It was possible for Ła Mackins to file a case in court and have it slated to be heard within 12 hours. Yet, the minority has filed a case against the passage of the levy, which has been pending for 3 years. By the stroke of a pen...
The minority at the time?
Yes, the minority at the time, I beg your pardon. By the stroke of a pen, Godfrey Dami was able to change a judge sitting on the case. And yet, Opuni tried everything under the sun, and the same judge was maintained. It was possible for a judge who held Kenny Japan in contempt to be changed because it was said that the contempt was committed against him. Yet, the people against whom contempt was supposed to have been done in the Muntie 3 case were sitting on the same case. So, the inconsistency, the unfairness, the imbalance is manifest. That is a position that I hold to this day, and I've said this over and over and over again. One of the things that we need to do is that we need to insist that there's fairness, there's balance. Because of historical reasons, I think that there's a certain antipathy towards the NDC. It has a historical basis. But justice ought not to be done on the basis of perception of political parties. Bernard, if what is good for you is done to you, what is good for me should be done to me. Whether you are NDC or MPP, it doesn't matter. There's a reason why the symbol of justice is supposed to have a woman who is blind. So it is color blind. Whether you're NDC or MPP, you deserve the same treatment. I don't think that we can say in this country that the NDC has received the same treatment that the MPP has received. I have been to court. I have seen judges exhibit hostility towards NDC people and show, what do you call it, light-handedness towards NDC people. That must change. But that said, it does not constitute sufficient ground to remove a chief justice unless and until you are able to prove that in the discharge of her duties, she's done something against the law. That is the position of President Mahama.
Wow.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Parliament finally.
Yes.
The 2/3 majority is very strong.
Yes, it is.
What is the president hoping to do with it?
Well, the president would have a legislative agenda. As I indicated at the beginning of this program, this is the fastest time that a president has had his ministers appointed, vetted, approved, and sworn in. We had to do that at some point through negotiation. You see, we could have run roughshod over the minority. There were many who perceive the dramatic antics of the minority to mean that they were superior to the majority. That was not the case. We would win every vote, but you must also accommodate the views of the minority in Parliament. That we are prepared to do. But if push comes to shove, we have the numbers to do any business that we have to. All we need to do is to have 148 people sitting in Parliament. If it is one that requires just more than 50% votes.
Yeah, kwaje ensem no aba obetimi eja comment comment section e dey on meje brain na makenkan ni na e dey awon mo amodofo snowy e na betina say e dey ensem no e brain no aha e Ghanatube so sisi ade makram.